A lot of you guys have asked me, why are you practicing 2x2 so much recently? Well, the truth is, I've been practicing it for a different reason than what you might expect. I've been dropping hints everywhere that I don't actually care that much about 2x2, but instead I learned what it takes to one-look solves so that I can know more about one-looking and know more about my brain's capabilities so that I can do something even bigger than that. One-looking a 3x3. Now you might think that's ridiculous, and most people do. A 3x3 is so much more complex than a 2x2, but let's first talk about what we already know about both of these puzzles. So the average move count for a 3x3 solve with CFOP is about 55 moves, but that is a bit misleading because about half of those are actually just the last layer. Now looking at a 2x2, normally for the first phase it would take about 5 moves, and I don't know how long the average EG algorithm is, but I'm going to say about 10 moves maybe. So 15 moves in total on a 2x2, but once you're really good at one looking, you don't need all of 15 seconds of inspection time to actually do it. Clearly, blindfolded solvers are able to memorize the entire 3x3 in less than 15 seconds. So if we apply a variation of that method to memorize a 3x3, maybe we can one look the whole thing with a speed solving method. Now we know that CFOP is not the most efficient in how many moves you use during F2L. You can reduce the move counts a lot, but if you learn extra algorithms like multi-slotting, then you can reduce that move count by even more. And in addition to that, I have been working on a special technique that brings the move count of CFOP solves from 55 down to usually low 30s, which actually starts to make one looking feasible. And I haven't found a way for that technique to work on every solve yet, but for now, there are some easy scrambles where it will work on, and I will show you. But first, we need to talk about some concepts for that to make sense. So first, we have to move up in steps. So we can't just inspect the whole thing at once. You wouldn't even do that on a 2x2 if you were just starting. So I'm going to show you how you can kind of inspect 3 pairs on easy scrambles, and then we'll move up from there. So you need to be more advanced to be able to do this by yourself, but just to kind of go through it quickly, here's how the cross would work. I'd insert orange here, then insert blue here, then do red last after aligning the cross. So once you have visualized all of these pieces, so this is just what I would have in my brain so far during inspection. It's from after this point that you have to be a lot better at prediction and saving moves. So in this case, you can do things like that. So we have this edge and this corner solved, and then all we have to do is a couple of moves to solve this edge and this corner using keyhole multi-slot. If you want to learn that, that's right there. But then for the very last pair, we're going to have to do a lot more harder prediction. So we're not going to talk about that yet. So just as an example, what I do here, I pair up these two, insert them into here, and then lastly, do these two. A lot of the top 3x3 solvers do not use all of their 15 seconds inspection time, and they're also not doing it in the most efficient way possible that uses all of the capabilities of the human brain. So if you're following me so far, you might be wondering, okay, we've used up all our 15 seconds of inspection time planning out F2L. How can we possibly know what's going on with the last layer? Well, that's the special technique that I've been coming up with that can actually influence the last layer so that we have fewer moves to be done in total. So again, I haven't been able to get this technique to work on every single solve, but there are solves where this can work. And the more time you leave for inspection to do this, the more effective it will be. So for example, if you take like 12 seconds of inspection time to figure out all of F2L, then for the last layer, you need to use like the last 3 seconds and make sure you go all the way up to the end of inspection because you need as much time as you can for this part. But what you do is you put the cube down and you pray for a last layer skip. Again, this doesn't work on every solve, but what I've been theorizing is if you're at a competition and you join hands with the people next to you, this could actually make the effect stronger. So if you successfully follow all of the steps I've outlined, it can look like this. So if you're successful, you can get really great times using this method. But my main problem with it is that even when I do this successfully and one look the entire solve, I still can't beat the world record.